YouTube channel.
Today we're going to be making a tier list on the MLB teams.
The first team, I got the Yankees as a B tier team. Even though they've had a lot of injuries this year, I think Joey Gallo will be a big help.
I have the Mariners as a fairly good team this year. They're winning a lot of one-run games, and they're getting crushed in the games they do lose. I have them as a C tier team, but they have a good future.
The Tampa Bay Rays have a lot of good prospects in Wander Franco and Vidal Brujan. Their starting pitchers have had holes this year. Tyler Glasnow started out really well but got injured, and they just dealt Rich Hill to the Mets. Their bullpen is fantastic, but they're going to need starting pitching in the playoffs, so I have them as a B tier team making the wild card.
The Blue Jays have one of the best lineups in all of baseball. Their starting rotation's fairly weak, and so is their bullpen, though. So I have them as a B tier team that will probably miss the playoffs.
The Miami Marlins have struggled decently well this year. They are definitely an F tier team. Even though they just got Jesus Luzardo, they lost a key piece in their team in their captain, Starling Marte.
The Cardinals, after getting Nolan Arenado, have really not had that great of a season with him. He's been playing okay, but they haven't performed very well. They're around a 500 team. I'd put them as a C tier team.
Houston Astros have had one of the best seasons in baseball. They will definitely be a top seed in the playoffs. I have them as an A seed.
The Braves have had a fairly good season. Losing Acuna, though, was rough. They're definitely underperforming what they would have hoped for this year after being an NLCS team last year. I have the Braves as a C-tier team because they're playing about 500 baseball.
Baltimore Orioles have just been flat-out horrible this year. They've only had a couple highlights this year. Trey Mancini coming back and making it to the home run derby. He's had a decent season. And Cedric Mullins, they're the best hitter on their team. But the Orioles are still an F-tier team.
The Indians have had a fairly good season, but they're really not performing that well. With Shane Bieber getting hurt, that didn't help. And the Indians are just Jose Ramirez and Shane Bieber. They don't have much else. And they just dealt Cesar Hernandez, so I think they're a C-tier team.
The Colorado Rockies haven't had that well of a season. They've lost a couple of their prospects, and I expect them to be sellers at the trade deadline. Get rid of Story and get some prospects. They're still a D-tier team, though.
The Detroit Tigers have outperformed what a lot of people would have thought of them this season. Everyone expected them to be fifth in the division, but they're sitting on third right now. I have the Tigers as a D-tier team also, but with a good future.
Kansas City Royals had a really good start to the year. They're one of the best teams in baseball to start, and they have rapidly declined since then. I have the Royals as a D-tier team.
The Brewers have arguably the best starting rotation in all of baseball with Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta. And their lineup's been improving with Eduardo Escobar, and if Yelich can figure it out, they'll be certainly a solid team. I have them as an A-tier team that could go far in the playoffs.
The Los Angeles Angels have had a mediocre season. I would have them as a playoff team if Trout didn't get injured. Shohei Ohtani has definitely been one of the best players in baseball, so that's one of their biggest highlights, but I still have them as a C-tier team.
The Oakland A's just traded for Starling Marte, and that's a huge improvement for them. Their starting rotation's been fairly good. Their lineup's been fairly good, except for Matt Chapman. So I would say that the Oakland A's are a B-tier team.
Philadelphia Phillies have had, again, another mediocre season for about the fifth season in a row. Philadelphia Phillies haven't really had any bright spots. JT Realmuto has been the same way he's always been. He's been a very good catcher for them. He made the All-Star game. Aaron Nola has had a really bad season for Aaron Nola. So I have the Philadelphia Phillies as a C-tier team.
The Pirates suck, plain and simple. The Pirates have had a really rough season. They're definitely in a rebuild process. Their only bright spot, Adam Frazier and Brian Reynolds, are definitely going to be gone by the July 31st deadline. They're an F-tier team.
San Diego Padres might be one of the best teams to watch in baseball, with Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, and tons of pitching. I have the Padres as an A tier team that could make it very far in the playoffs. World Series potential for sure.
The Rangers have dealt Joey Gallo, and they're just about to deal Kyle Gibson, I assume. The Rangers are in a rebuild, but they don't really have many prospects. They're just starting this rebuild, and it's tear-down time. They're definitely an F-tier team.
Since the Boston Red Sox 2020 season, they have very much improved. The Boston Red Sox were one of the worst teams last year, but this year they're one of the most fun teams to win, and they have won the Subway Series a ton. The Yankees don't stand anything on them.
The Giants have been a really solid team this year. No one really expected much of them because there's just a lot of old guys on that team, but they've performed very well as the best team in baseball right now, but they're probably going to slide a little, so I'd put them in the B tier.
Los Angeles Dodgers is the best team in baseball, flat out right now. Their talent is just insane across the boards, so I have them as an A-tier team who has World Series potential.
The Diamondbacks are even worse than the Pirates. They just dealt Eduardo Escobar, and who knows, maybe Ketel Marte could get dealt. Otherwise, they don't really have any talent, and they lost 20 straight games on the road, so they're clearly an F-tier team.
The New York Mets have really shined in the NL East this year. The Braves have won it 3 times in a row, but the Mets have definitely gained control this year. The Mets have some bright spots in Jacob deGrom, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, and maybe in the upcoming days they could acquire Javi Baez. I have the Mets as a B-tier team.
The White Sox just picked up Cesar Hernandez as an addition to that second base in that lineup. The lineup's already crazy good. The pitching rotation's solid. The bullpen's solid. This team could win the World Series. I have them as an A-tier team, definitely.
Minnesota Twins look very good on paper, but this year they have had a really rough season. They are one of the worst teams in baseball. I have them as an F-tier team.
The Chicago Cubs are likely going to sell everything they have. I don't think they were that good anyway. But Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo possibly leaving will definitely be a big slide for this team. They're clearly D tier.
The Washington Nationals have really struggled this year. And in the next upcoming days, I could totally see them releasing Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. So I would definitely put them in a D tier spot.
The Cincinnati Reds have performed pretty well this season. They're going to miss the playoffs after getting swept by the Brewers. They had a chance to almost take control of that division, but they definitely missed it. Castellanos and Winker have had good seasons, but their bullpen's been bad and their starting rotation hasn't been good. I don't think they're going to compete this year, so I have them as C tier.
Thank you for watching.
Please be sure to like and subscribe and comment what you think about this tier list below.